The Movies of the Meek, where we watch made-for-TV movies and miniseries so you don't have to. From Gia to Xenon, Hysteria to Sybil, welcome to Movies of the Meek.
Sometimes They Come Back is a Stephen King-based TV movie. It is about a high school teacher who moves back to his hometown with his family, where he is tormented by these demons. There are these guys that killed his brother when he was a kid. They come back as like zombie demons, and they torment him and they murder a bunch of people. So, and that's it. That's the movie. This movie reminded me a lot of It. And It's like setup and premise, and I'm sure that's very similar to many other Stephen King novels that I haven't read. But yeah, it's a small town. It's a guy's brother died when he was a child. He feels he's kind of hung up with that little thing, and he has to come back to his hometown where he's tormented by a demonic presence. So yeah. So where do we start with this, Max?
So this movie starts off with so much exposition.
Heavily narrated intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first note, was like, there's a hell of a lot of narration.
Yeah. He talks so much in the beginning. I will say, the aerial shots in the beginning are great.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Which is, after Stanley Kubrick, is like a Stephen King-ism. And also it's in the beginning where he's talking about how he's like, sometimes you gotta go relive the source of a painful memory in order for you to heal. And I was like, isn't that what Scientologists believe? Like when
he's a Scientologist, right? I thought that.
Stephen King? Yes.
And Jim?
And Jim. Yeah, they both are. He's like, these can't be demons because demons don't exist. They're alien souls.
So why does he come back to his hometown after being gone for so long? They mentioned some kind of incident he had at his current school.
I'm a huge fan of the short story that this is based off of, which is he had a collection of short stories called Night Shift, which this entire book of short stories has had multiple film adaptations, and none of them are accurate to the source material. So this one has Children of the Corn, which they missed the ball on, because at the end of Children of the Corn, Satan is literally walking in the cornfield as like a giant monster. Lawnmower Man is from this collection of short stories.
Really?
And we all know how that turned out. And then, of course, this one gets some of it pretty good, but one of the things in the short story is it does begin with him at his interview where they're talking to him about the incident in Chicago and whether or not he'll be able to control his temper.
Yeah.
And basically what it is that he has been haunted by his past his entire life. And so the flare-up that happened in Chicago where he threw a chair and like almost hit a kid, that flare-up was caused by his past. And he is going back basically to confront it.
Okay.
Gotcha. At least like to confront, he doesn't know what crazy shit's gonna happen.
But it's like a subconscious thing that was drawing him back to the town. Like, he didn't go back intentionally trying to confront these demons, did he? Because at least in the movie it's portrayed as him, like, he didn't know this was going to happen.
He didn't know that, like, that all the bullies
like literal
would come back
demons
to life.
I mean, that is a jump, you know what I mean, to expect demons to haunt you,
but he was kind of called back to the town as like, this is something that I clearly haven't let go of. This is where, like they need someone, and I need to go there as well. And so in this version, when he gets there, all the kids are like talking about his rep, and they're just like, I heard that he like killed a kid, he threw him out a window, and like all the jocks are like, come on man, maybe you should just pass us, like we're all this last class that you have today, it's your 5th class, but this is the class that no one cares about. It's all dumb broads and cool jocks, and you should just give everybody an A. And he fucking breaks his stick, which I was like, where'd that stick come from? And he fucking just breaks the stick, so he's like, I'll give you the grade you deserve.
He's the chipster, dude.
Now,
they call me the chipster.
Now, before that happens, they have a moving in scene, and there's this narration that happens where he goes, his son's name is Scott, and he goes, Scott could tell that we were afraid. And I was like, of what?
Maybe the filth on the walls. Like, that was the dirtiest house I've ever seen someone move into.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, maybe it's that you can tell you're afraid of how fucking disgusting your house is.
He moved into a squatter's house. It was like covered in shit.
He tucks his son into bed, and there's like fucking dirt and shit on the wall. And I was like,
at first I was like, is this? So he goes back to his childhood home.
Yeah.
Shortly after this scene, and I thought that was the house he moved into.
Same.
And it was all boarded up, and I was like, this looks like the exact house he just moved into. How like? It's like that's just awful to move your family into a filthy home, but whatever. That's like most of my notes are about the house, by the way. Like how dirty that house was. Because throughout the whole movie, it's like they put furniture in it and stuff, but it's still fucking dirty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, he gets home from his first day of work, and, she went to a thrift store and got a new couch, quote unquote new couch, new to them. It's a fucking garbage couch.
He was like, wow.
And he's like, oh, this is sick. And then his son is like, hey, check it out, Dad, like I got a train. And he's like, oh God, I have a phobia of trains. And it's like, how have you not told your family you're so fucked up about trains?
Like, does his wife know what happened when he was a kid?
In the short story, it's a reveal, and then in this one, she seems to know about the dreams, at least,
Because they mentioned that this is not the first time he's had nightmares.
Yeah,
like this isn't his first flare up, as you said. So
yeah, and then it's after this sequence where he gets the train and he sees the train and has the first flashback about the train where we see that him and his brother were gonna go return some library books that were late. Which it's like, it's fucking idiots, but it's fine. So they're returning these library books that are late, and they decide to go through this tunnel. And when they go through the tunnel, they're cornered by some bullies who stab his brother.
Yeah.
And then get hit by a train.
Yes, 3 of them.
And then when it cuts back to present day, he is on the steps. Old Jim is on the steps.
Jim.
Is on the steps crying, and his wife comes out. And she's like, are you okay? It's like, why are you asking that? He clearly looks terrible.
Well, it's implied this isn't the first time this has been happening. Like, he's had these flare-ups in the past.
She's like,
sobs.
Let me make you a cup of joe. It's at this point where kids in the class start dying.
Yeah.
And as these kids start dying, then they're replaced by this group of bullies that killed his brother. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that's weird with that is that the very first one you see killed by the car, okay? And there's a driver in the car, and it kills this hippie kid, Billy. I guess he's a hippie kid. I don't know. He's like grungy. And
I liked Billy.
Edgy.
Yeah, he's like grungy, dude.
Yeah. And he's like, history repeats itself, man. That really stuck with me. That song Dust in the Wind? I don't want to end up being dust in someone's eye.
My question for you, Max, is how did the first demon greaser come back?
That's what I was getting to.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just a car that hits him, and you can see someone driving the car. But what they say later on is, you need to take someone, and then someone can come back.
Yeah. So maybe the ghost of the car did that.
that's what it kind of seems like.
But the whole story of how it all went down with the stabbing of Jim's brother, Wayne, and the whole thing, Jim. The reason why the greasers died is because Jim took the keys.
Yeah.
So you would think that present day, they wouldn't be able to drive the car at all because they don't have any fucking keys.
Yeah.
But they're able to. And whatever. Let's say the car comes back, it's like a duel situation, and the car murders
Billy,
the grungy kid, and that brings the first boy back, first greaser back, and then it's just a snowball effect from there.
Yeah, and there's the scene where Billy is being chased down by the ghost car, and Jim and Billy are the only ones who can see the car. Okay, and now when Billy is being chased by the car, you can see the car behind him. When Jim is in his car looking at Billy, you can see that Jim from his car can see Billy and the ghost car. However, there's never a shot where you can see the three of them together. Yeah, which I thought was weird.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Maybe I just assumed while watching that Jim was far enough down the road that he was, far enough behind them that he wouldn't show up.
There's two shots where that's not possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it appears that, is that the only time that people can't see the demon greasers? I'm confused. So
yes.
Okay. So after that point, and they come back, everyone knows they're there. Because they come back as like exchange students or something, right? Or transfers.
Yeah.
From Milford. So everyone can see them at that point. But I feel like there's a few other times where that's not the case. Sometimes they disappear immediately.
And that's the whole, he goes into the bathroom and it's like he can see them, but then he looks in the mirror and they're not there. Yeah. And so then when he's fighting with them outside of the bathroom, the principal can see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's real weird.
I guess they just can control who can see them at any given time.
Yeah.
Because their whole goal is to push everything toward them going back to the tunnel.
Yeah.
So they can finish their business or whatever.
And now this raises a question. If you were watching a movie and your dead brother became part of that movie, and then there's footage of both of you that you knew was never shot by a human person, would you A, run like your dead brother tells you to do in the weird video footage that you're seeing for the first time ever, B, check yourself into a mental institution, or C, go back to the place where your brother died?
I would do B.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's with his family and they rent this movie and they're watching the movie and he's like yeah, honey, like I'll go upstairs and have sex with you in a bit. I just gotta keep watching. I gotta find out if he gets the girl, is what he says. And then he keeps watching that, and all of a sudden it turns into this movie of him and his brother, and he's like fixated on it. He's like, oh, and then his brother's like, run, Jimmy, run, Jimmy, run. And he's like, you know what? I should go back to the train tracks. And I was just like, why? Stop this. And that's when he runs into, he runs into another one of his students, Katie.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was going to just, have some sort of like weird sequence where she's creeped out by him, like saying that he'll walk her home, and she's like, ew, no, creepy old man. Ew, no. What? No. But instead she's like, nah, I'm good. And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I get it. And then, he's like, hey, oh, by the way, Katie, so ever since I moved in here, I've been hearing this train. Is there a train? She's like, yeah, like a billion years ago, and it's been done since then. And he's like, oh my god. And then he goes home, and there's this weird sequence when they kill Katie, and there's like sparks.
Yeah.
Did you? What was that?
I have no idea.
Like, it was effective because it was loud noises and things flashing on the screen. So, of course, I was going, whoa. But at the same time, I was also going, what's happening here?
Yeah, like, I knew what was happening to Chippy when he was dying. Clearly, he was getting all of his appendages amputated and thrown into the river. But with her, I have no idea. It kind of sucked because I kept like warming up to these characters, whether it be Billy or Kimberly or Chippy.
Chippy.
And they die before I even get to know them.
Yeah.
You know, Chippy has a real arc in this movie.
Yeah.
And he kind of, you know, goes to Jim's house and he apologizes, and he also makes it clear that it's not his fight because he's just a jock. And before you know it, he's dead.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing.
Yeah, and if anything, like you were saying, like that's a real arc for Chip, because he goes from being this guy that's like a dick to, you know, being a guy that's compassionate and is like concerned about him. And he's like,
but he's he's always a jock, you know, like he's just a jock, dude. Like that's his like one thing.
You know, but that's also a huge turning point in the film, because that like Chip's fear lets Jim know that this is all real, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And that not only is Jim experiencing these ghoulies, you know, but also that Chip has even talked to them, and he's like, they want to kill you. He's like, I jokingly said that I had it out for you, but they want to kill you, and said they'd known you for a very long time, and they want you to die, and they've come back to murder you. And then he's like, and you know what? I got a cousin. I'm just gonna move.
He's not very bright.
Which is like my favorite conclusion to come to. You know, and that's also, you know, so Jim at this point is like, you know what, we can't keep running from them. Like, I'm done. I'm not gonna run from them anymore. And he's like, and you gotta overcome this fear too, and you shouldn't run either. And Chip's like, you know what, you're right. And then that's when he gets hit by the car.
Yeah, well, he's like, it's not my fight, and I kind of feel for Chip. Like,
oh yeah,
if I was in a position, I would dip too. Like, my brother didn't get murdered, you know. So, but that bites him in the ass.
Yeah.
Immediately, actually. He walks in the middle of the street and they hit him. I wonder if people in the town saw him on the car, or if they just saw him floating in the air, flying down the street.
I think at this point it's a real car.
Okay.
You know?
All right. He dies.
And then,
into little pieces.
They cut him into pieces and throw them out the window.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know, and so Jim knows all this information about all these murders. You know, he was directly behind Billy as Billy was fleeing for his life and flew into the river.
Yeah.
And so they're like, that was suspicious. You were directly behind him and he was running away from something. Maybe he was running away from you.
He was right behind Billy, like chasing him. It looked like he was chasing him to everyone else.
Then Katie, he has a vision, you know, of a barn that she would be found in, and a vision of her being either stabbed or roped or something with sparks. And he has that vision, and so it's because of his vision that they're able to find her dead body. And then he also, you know, is telling the cops that, like, you know, something's wrong with Chip. And then they find out that Chip is missing. And so he's interviewed by a detective. And when he gets out of prison, his wife, she's like, they think that you killed all these people. And he's like, hey, baby, they don't have any evidence. Give me some coffee. And she's just, like, fine with that.
Yeah. She's a good wife. Dude, no questions asked.
I was like, are you fucking serious right now?
She's down for whatever.
She's like, I feel like you're not communicating with me. And he's like, I'm just tired. I gotta go to work still.
Yeah, I just realized she probably did not believe him until the greasers broke into her house and tried to kill her.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing. You know what I mean? So... Which I think happens shortly after this incident, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he go... So he tries to find Mueller. Is that his name? Like the greaser that didn't die in the accident. And he like plays like the perfect pathetic man. Doesn't he?
Yeah.
You just can't help but feel bad for the guy. But yeah, so he meets up with him.
Yeah.
He like he forces him at gunpoint to go to the trash. I was like, Jim's going off the rails at this point.
There's a few things that happen here that are all excellent. So the first is that, his wife finally breaks him down, and she's like, tell me what's going on. And he's like, I'm gonna tell you about these ghouls. And that's when he's like, I'm not crazy. It's after he talks to his wife that he goes to the old cop that he passed as a young boy, and it's when he's talking to the cop that he's talking about, the boys that died and everything. And as the ghoulies have been filling up his classroom, they say that they're transferring from Milford, and it's this old cop that he visits that tells him the titular line, one, he says, sometimes they come back, and then he's also the one that's like, Milford ain't a school, boy. And he finds out it's a cemetery. He goes there, and it's when he goes to the cemetery that he finds out that, yes, not every single one of the boys died, and there is one left. And they're like, he's the last piece of the puzzle, man. You gotta go find him, man. And then he goes and finds him.
I just thought I was listening to a clip of the movie there, Max. So, thank you.
Now, you were talking about the wife ends up confronting the ghouls for the first time.
Yes.
And that's when it all kind of becomes real for her. Now, I just want to say, that's one of the smartest moments I've seen in a horror movie, which is the wife sees a door open and she's scared, okay? Mm-hmm. Because she's starting to think, something fucked up is happening. Because obviously her husband is probably insane, and so maybe she's scared of him even. And so she sees the door open and she grabs a knife. And I'm like, good. And then she's like, no. And then she grabs a bigger knife.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking cool as shit.
And then she goes up to the door, and you think she's going to open it. But no, she just presses her back against the door and slams it shut.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yes, that's good. Good, do that. But then it's when they all burst.
Very rarely do we have a character, make sense.
Yeah. And then they bust through the windows, which isn't what you expected, and it's a legitimate shocking moment.
Yeah, exactly. And they're all they're in their zombie gore face too, so it's real scary. And then but I thought I would agree with you. That's a very 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 effective scene there. But of course Jim comes and fucking shoots the guy.
And they're like, we just wanted to make sure you'd come, Jimmy boy.
Doesn't he takes him, his wife and child to the church.
Yeah.
Which seems to work, but then for as smart as she was in the previous scene, she's equally as dumb in the church scene.
Yeah.
Because she's lured outside by the ghouls.
Well, the son is lured outside.
Yeah, I know. But she followed. Oh, I guess it makes sense. She's the mother, but of course they're captured by the ghouls.
And then
shortly after,
the thing that's super fortunate is that Jim goes back to his old house, and he goes to his room and pulls up the floorboards, and his old library books, car keys, and 12 cents are still in there.
Yeah, I thought that was strange that he would keep that stuff there for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what if that house had been bulldozed? What would have happened? His whole family would have died. But yeah, everything is exactly how it was when he was a child.
Yeah.
Just tucked away in this cigar box.
And so now I will talk about how this is different from the short story.
Hell yeah.
And it also reminded me, I forgot why I love this movie / hate this movie. And it's because I remember when I was in high school, I thought they should remake this movie, and I had the entire thing plotted out because the short story is way sicker, and I think that you can make this movie even more fucked up, and I'll explain how, which is the dope part about this short story, and this really is exemplified in all the stories that Stephen King was writing at the time, which is when he realizes that he needs to confront these bullies, he's like, you know what? I have to use black magic.
Oh.
And so he becomes obsessed with black magic and makes a blood sacrifice to summon something. Like, he doesn't know what it even is.
Oh, shit.
But he knows that he needs to summon, like, part of his brother to help him.
Oh.
And so
that's very interesting.
Yeah, and so he legit, like, he makes, you know, a sacrificial circle, and he cuts himself and bleeds into the circle, and he evokes this demonic presence, this black, dripping, evil force, and it asks him what he wants, and he asks for his brother to arrive, and his brother's soul, like, merges with this demonic entity.
What?
And they both go and confront all the bullies.
That sounds amazing.
and it's at the end of the movie where, you know, after everything happens and they finish everything and blah, 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 the bullies all go and everything, it's when he's then once again confronted with the fact that, you know, he had to do this really fucked up thing to get to get the situation resolved, and also realizing that, you know, even though he brought back a thing that's kind of like his brother, he doesn't know exactly what the full cost of it is, and that basically, even though this thing is going away, sometimes something more malicious will come back, is basically what it's saying.
Oh. Huh.
Now, my version of this story that I thought of when I was but a young boy, and so what ends up happening is that all of this is really in his head, and he is just straight up killing his students.
Oh my god.
And so you do have all of the appearances of, like, the bullies coming back, and, you know, he does do the demonic sacrifice and everything, and his brother comes back as this weird evil ghost demon child thing. But that's all basically revealed at the end, where, you know, he thinks he solves everything, and he goes back home and he finds out that it wasn't a blood sacrifice of his own, it's that he killed his wife and kid.
Oh my god, Max.
And then you find out that also, like, he's kind of reenacted the situation that killed his brother by killing a bunch of bullies on this train track.
Oh my god.
He kills Kate, he killed everybody, and it's basically just, you know, him, like, in his house being dragged away by police officers, you know, as a monster.
In your version, does he have a mullet?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I'm down. Is his house filthy in your version?
More filthy.
Can there be a cleaning montage in your version?
If it's set to Jitterbug.
Hell yeah.
Other than that, I don't want it. But yeah, and so that's the real split that happens that separates the original from this version, which is he fucking summons a demon, whereas in this version, Muller ends up dying when they're confronting all the bullies, and he's like, you know, when one dies, another comes back in their place, and it's like, what? That's the rule? Okay. And then the little brother comes back and he's like, I'm gonna help you out now, Jimmy boy. And that's also, it's kind of weird because you would think that the trauma that he's been suffering is that he basically is the reason that all these boys are dead, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, he's the one that had the car keys, and so they couldn't start their car, and so they're all dead now. Mm-hmm. And so your thoughts are that maybe he wants them to be redeemed, and so when he reenacts this whole situation, he'll give them the car keys.
Well,
you know?
Yeah, you would think that's what I was going for too. Like, so they can get away. He's sparing them. Yeah, absolutely.
But instead, he's like, yeah, I'm the one that did the car keys. Try and get them, bitches. And he throws them, and then they all die again.
Yeah. But this time they go back to hell.
Yeah.
or whatever.
And that's also, so his little brother Wayne is back. And
oh yeah, he is.
And
is he back? Like, could he stay if he wanted to?
No.
Oh, because I know he has to go back into the light, but I wasn't sure if he had a choice,
And that's, so Wayne tells Jim, he's like, I don't want to go back. I was so alone there. And Jim's like, no, you're going to go to heaven now because all this is all fixed. I did it. I solved it. I fixed it. I killed it. There's 2 other movies after this, so he didn't. But he's like, now you can go to heaven. And he's like, and then you can see mom and you can see dad. And then one day I'll be with you too. And it's like, yeah, but you won't because you killed all those people.
Yeah, he's probably going to be stuck in some kind of limbo hell.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Because he killed all those kids.
So, the rule of this movie is if someone dies and someone else can come back. Is that true? Like,
are you asking if that's true in general?
I don't know. Like, I don't understand how that works. Like, so does it only work with like Jim's situation, or does that apply to anybody who has died? Like, you know what I mean? So Mahler dies, and then his brother can come back. Like, could he potentially kill like someone else and bring back one of the many students who died because of his shitty childhood?
That is a good question. Yeah,
because I was hoping there'd be some kind of redemption for those characters too, because they were kind of just innocent bystanders of this whole thing.
Yeah,
like it kind of. I mean, yeah, they were literally just like fucking, cattle to be slaughtered so the greasers could bring their buddies back. So. I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, yeah, I would love for my boys Billy and Katie to come back.
Not Chip, dude. I mean, I was thinking Chip.
All right,
bring back Chip.
I'd be down with Chip too.
I would sacrifice both the wife and child for just Chip. I mean, dude, he's just a jock. He like had no business being in any of this. But yeah, Wayne goes back to heaven or wherever he's gonna go.
Yeah, proud of him.
And that's the movie. That's it.
Sorry, there's also a hilarious lie, which is where he gives his son the 12 cents, which is for the library books, the late fees, and he says to his son that these are lucky coins, and it's like, no, they're not. What are you talking about?
These are my lucky charms.
They're not lucky at all. They are part of a tragic moment of your life.
They're the opposite. 12 cents, liar. I was like, why would he lie about having 12 cents?
All right.
Dumb greaser.
This is time for some IMDb trivia and goofs. Starting with the trivia, the production of this film was shut down at one point due to an intense electrical storm. Maybe that's what that second murder was exemplifying.
Oh. That was like caught on. It was like a candid moment of the electrical storm. Interesting.
Now, IMDb goofs. When Lawson says, "Get this bum out of my way before I slap him" at the end, his mouth does not match his voice.
Shut up.
The train accident that killed the greasers happened in 1963. The train that hit their 1955 Chevy, killing them, was the Southern Pacific 5021. The Southern Pacific 5021 was retired in 1955 and was the only train of its kind preserved and donated to the Railway of Locomotive Historical Society March 8th, 1956. It's not possible for that train to have killed the gang in 1963. Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah, right? It's so stupid. I mean, whatever. It's a goof. So next week, I say we go back in the trash bin of Lifetime movies.
Oh, God.
And we watch the 2-hour Boyfriend Killer. So, I hope you're ready for that.
I am not.